it's not it.
No. Oh. I thought that's what I heard.
They're going to lay off a bunch of teachers. You know.
Did anybody die this week? Has anybody died? I thought I saw somebody died.
Please join us in a salute to the flag.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws, 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2016 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2015, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams? Here. Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier? Here. Mr. Lembrick?
Here. Good night, CC.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public, and whereas Section 7 provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, and whereas desire this governing body to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, the Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in deliberations of the governing body by the public, and except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the action discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier? Yes. Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Thank you very much for coming to our meeting on March 1st. This evening, we will have public comment, and then after that, we will have appointments to the boards and committees. We have some appointments to the Pool Committee and to the Township Sustainability Committee. We'll have a presentation to the governing body on Maplewood stock. We'll have our monthly Board of Health meeting. We have 2 discussion items after that. One is Maplewood Village parking lot number 7, and the second is the property reassessment. We have our consent agenda, and we're pulling off item number 2, right? 5516.
Yes.
Make that a separate vote. And after we deal with those, we'll have a 2016 budget discussion. We'll have our second public comment period. We'll have administrative reports and reports from elected officials. So it should be a relatively short meeting, but you never know. Before we, that's sort of the bad luck when I say that. Before we go forward, I just wanted to alert folks that there is a possible New Jersey Transit train strike, the rail workers, and we've been talking about that and have made a contingency plan to help our residents get to work using our jitneys and also facilitating ride sharing. And the way it's going to work, we're going to be announcing this evening. We have, and I have actual, let me give copies to members of the Township Committee because you saw a preliminary one and pass these around, and also to Mr. Manning and Mr. Desiderio and Mr. Carrera. So we're going to have a ride share program in which we're going to open 2 ride share hubs, one at the pool parking lot and the second at DeHart Community Center. And we're going to use a Facebook page to match up people who are willing to provide rides with those who are willing to take rides. And the people will be able to park at those 2 sites. We'll have some limited parking at the pool site. At the community center, we will have people park on the residential streets. So that's one aspect of our program. The second is that we will use the jitneys to take people to the Irvington bus terminal. At the Irvington bus terminal, people will have two options, actually two options. One is to take the number 25 express bus. There's also regular buses to Newark Penn Station, where they can get onto the path and go to Wall Street or 33rd Street. The additional option at Newark Penn Station is to take the number 108 bus directly to the Port Authority. So, thank you. So when we were looking at this, we thought the best use of our jitneys was to get folks to buses that could allow them to get to either New York or the path. So these buses will use our jitneys to get folks to Irvington Terminal, and then they can take the buses to Newark, and there's a couple of options there. There's also a 107 bus that goes from the Irvington Terminal, but we don't think that that's going to have any capacity because that starts at the South Orange train station, and we think folks are going to fill those buses up there, but you never know. So there's a couple of options. We'll be working with Irvington to make sure we can get our jitneys there safely unloaded and then loaded up in the evening. In the morning, we'll operate from 5 o'clock to 9 a.m. We'll be loading folks up in front of Town Hall. We'll have buses here. As soon as we get a bus full, we'll send them over to the terminal. And in the evening, we'll be at the terminal from 6 to 9:30 p.m. And we'll be able to take people back here. Again, everything will start and stop in front of Town Hall in Maplewood. The parking passes will still be honored in and around the train station. For those that don't have parking passes, you're not going to be able to park here. We're hoping that you can drop off or park in other areas, but there's just not enough space here to accommodate people with the parking passes. As we see what goes on, if this goes on for a few days, we might make adjustments, but that's what we're looking at right now. There's an additional bus option for people who are close to Springfield Avenue, and that's the Express Bus 371 that runs from Maplewood to Newark Penn Station. That's about a 30-minute ride. And it would be best if folks could get onto that bus and then use those options at Newark Penn, whether you take the jitney or the 108. We're also encouraging folks, if you have the ability to work at home, we will also be making space available at the library, the two buildings that we have. If people need to, if there's others that folks work with, they want to have business meetings here, we can get you space at the library. We have the Wi-Fi at the library, so you can hook up to do video conferencing. So we'll try to get through this. We think that based on our capacity, we could probably do somewhere in the vicinity of about 140 people each hour to get from Maplewood to the Irvington Terminal. But, you know, this is, hopefully, none of these plans will have to, you know, go into effect. If they do, it will be on March 14th. That's the first scheduled day of impact. The unions and New Jersey Transit have so far been unsuccessful in closing the gap. There's one more negotiating session that we know of that's down in Washington. There may be more. This may be one of those midnight deals that get struck. But in any event, we will be ready for that Monday morning. Just the other thing is, because obviously we're using the jitneys to take people to Irvington Terminal, we will not be sending jitneys around town at the regular jitney stops. So folks will have to get here. There's just no way we can go around and pick up people and take them here and then take people to Irvington Terminal at the same time. So this is our plan. As we get closer, we may make some modifications based on comments we get from commuters and others, some information we get from New Jersey Transit. But hopefully this won't, like I said, this won't happen, and we can get through this without having to implement this plan. So having said that, anyone want to add anything? Okay. We're going to go to our first public comment session. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the Maplewood Township Committee. For the record, I'm Deborah Collins, Director of Small Business Development and Affirmative Action for the County of Essex. Before I begin, I do want to congratulate Maplewood on the receipt of a CDBG award this afternoon at our ceremony. I was delighted to see Annette De Palma there as well. So congratulations once again. On an unrelated note, on March 24th, our office will offer a cost estimating workshop for contractors in the construction field. The subtopics include the following: current industry tools, common estimating mistakes, and calculating labor costs. This is a very, very important workshop. It will be delivered by Cindy Malenchak, who actually is one of the vendors who worked on an exhibit at Turtleback Zoo. So real-time information, very important information. If any of our viewers are interested in attending, kindly register by calling 973-621-2011, 973-62011. That's March 24th, 10 o'clock a.m. at McClune's Boathouse Restaurant. We look forward to seeing you there. And we know that spring is coming because we now have our Cherry Blossom Festival cards. Beginning April 9th through the 24th, this is the 40th anniversary, by the way, of our Cherry Blossom Festival. It'll include such events as the Cherry Blossom Challenge Bike Race, Cherry Blossom 10K Run, 1 Mile Fun Run, Essex County Family Day, and all of these events will culminate in a wonderful Bloom Fest on Sunday, April 24th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., and I have left information with the clerk's office. This constitutes our remarks for this evening. Do you have any questions for me? I'm happy to take them back.
I do. We're having some difficulty with Valley Street between Tuscan and Baker, particularly on the northbound side. It's very choppy. It really needs to be a cut and repaved area there. So if they could take a look at that. There's not really potholes there, but it's just very uneven, very, from repairs in the past, it's really a difficult section of the road.
I'm sorry, that was Valley?
Valley and Tuscan and Baker.
Okay.
Tuscan and Baker.
There actually are, the turning lane onto Baker is the worst part of it. There's potholes.
Very good. I will communicate this to our DPW department and get back to you with a response.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure. Have a
Thanks
good
very
day.
much.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Deborah.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee? Okay, so we'll close that. We'll move into boards and committees. Mr. Lembrick, you have some pool members you'd like to introduce?
I do. We have 4 appointments to the pool committee tonight, 3 of whom are here with us. I'd like to bring up Kristen Thornhill, Mike Summersgill, and Sue Ryan Goodman. And not able to be here tonight due to another commitment, but also being appointed tonight is Rachel McKetkar.
So, welcome. If you could each take a turn just saying who you are and why you'd like to be on the pool committee and anything else you want to tell us about yourself.
Thank you. Sue Ryan Goodman. I've been a Maplewood resident for 22 years. When I first moved to town, I was very active in CBAC. My children are 23 and 18, soon to be 19. Both of them were on Maplewood MACOs. Just finished up our 17th summer last summer. My son was just graduated from CHS, where he was the swim team captain last year. He's one of the lifeguards at the pool. Pool is very important to us. I'm actually very involved in still in New Jersey swimming as an official and starter. And I just thought it would be a good time to help with the pool.
Great, thank you.
Kristen Thornhill. I've been a Maplewood resident since 2009, originally from Brooklyn, New York, and my daughter's a swimmer on the MACOs as well. And it's a great resource and like to keep it alive in the town.
Great, thanks.
My name is Mike Summersgill. I have daughters who are 1 and 4, and my wife and I enjoy the pool for at least 4 years now. So happy to have the opportunity to contribute. And it's a really great resource. If you haven't checked it out, you should. and we'll have the membership information coming out soon, but it's, you know, a great opportunity to do something with your family.
Great, thanks. Anybody have any comments? Mr. Limbrick, would you like to make a motion of appointment?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to appoint Kristen Thornhill, Mike Summersgill, Rachel McKetkar, and Sue Ryan Goodman to the pool committee.
Second?
Call the roll?
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes,
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for your service.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just at that meeting.
Okay, we also would like to appoint to the Township Sustainability Committee Claire Payton, Sheila Baker Gurgel, Gujral, and Bob McCoy. I'll move that.
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes,
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. And Mr. Limbrick, you'll have some more pool committees at the next pool committee recommendations and a recreation recommendation for our
yes.
next meeting.
And I think tonight, as a housekeeping matter, I think we have to reappoint Mr. Lackey.
Very good. Would you like to make that motion?
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to reappoint James Lackey to the Recreation Advisory Committee.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, next up is Maplewood Stock.
Evening, Township Committee. I'm Drew Dix, 663 Prospect Street, Maplewood, New Jersey.
Gary Shippey, 111 Seton Place in South Orange.
Thanks for having us. We are appearing tonight for Township Committee permission to apply for a temporary liquor license at Maplewood Stock held this year, July 9th and 10th, 2016 in Memorial Park. This would be our 13th consecutive Maplewood Stock and our 5th consecutive year of selling beer and wine in conjunction with the South Orange Elks, with whom we split profits during the event. All but the first year have been profitable. And was last year our best year?
Yes.
Okay, and last year was our best year. It's been growing steadily. There have been no alcohol-related incidents reported. As a matter of fact, we have invested in increased security over the years based on the behest of the police department. We've complied with that completely, and we're happy to do that. It's proven very beneficial to Maplewood Stock as an additional revenue stream to continue to put on the best possible show for the community and give the community a place to gather and have an alcoholic beverage in a controlled environment. So we are requesting permission to apply to Trenton for the liquor license.
Any questions? Comments?
I think it's actually been, since you instituted the beer garden, I think your profits went up because you also put some wine
what?
back there. You also put some wine in the beer garden, so
did.
I think that could only help. But I think it's taken some of the incentive for people to bring in their own out of the picture a little more. So the rest of the park is more family friendly in that regard. That's what I've noticed. So.
Anyone else? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
You know, I've been on the record in past years on this, and I'm going to state it again just for the record. You mentioned that every year, but the first year was profitable. I do remember the first year when you approached us for that. The rationale given was that you wanted to raise money and lost money on that. And then the next year came and said you wanted to do it again. My question was, well, if the rationale was that you wanted to raise money, but you lost money, why do you want to do it again? It seems like there's an underlying premise there. The answer I got essentially was that, well, we would do it with less security, and that way it wouldn't cost so much, and that way maybe we wouldn't lose money. In my mind, Maplewood Stock is a wonderful, family-friendly event. I'm always touched by seeing little kids running around. I remember seeing some hula hooping, just frolicking and having fun. And it's just my belief that in this type of environment, it's just not appropriate to be selling alcohol. The reply I always get is that, you know, the area where the alcohol will be sold will be cordoned off and children won't be able to purchase. But again, that's not appropriate to me because essentially the underlying message is, well, you know, you can't buy alcohol now, but when you get big enough, you can drink alcohol too. You know, I mean, it's sort of the forbidden fruit, if you would. And I just don't want to be encouraging drinking among children. And so to me, there are other ways of increasing revenue streams. Alcohol is not the only way in which additional revenues can be garnered. But the reliance on that for this purpose, again, just runs at odds with what I believe to be otherwise an ideal family-friendly event. So I'll be voting against it, but I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Anyone else?
What is the procedure for us to approve the request?
Take a vote. And if it's,
No, is that tonight or?
yes, right
Okay.
now. We'll take a
Okay.
vote right now, and if it's, we'll need a motion and a second, we'll take a vote. And if it is approved, then they'll have to apply for the permit. So we're essentially giving them permission to sell wine and beer in Memorial Park.
Okay. If there's no one other
Let me
comment.
just see if there's anything.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I would concur with Mr. Brownlee. I think I'm also on record for the last 5 years, well, goodness, it is about 5 years, that I don't think this is the venue to be selling alcohol. I know we declined to approve a liquor license because it was, for myself, because it was in proximity with the library. So I don't believe that this is the right time or the right place, the right venue or opportunity to do this, your profits notwithstanding.
Right.
So just,
And just for the record, if I may, Mr. Brownlee mentioned Reliance. The profits from the beer garden are probably about 5% of our budget, but a very important 5%. So it's not really a reliance at all. And I think a major part of the first year, if I remember correctly, the lack of profitability, it was about 102 degrees that we had a major, major heat wave. And no one even wanted to clap. I mean, no one could like put their hands together to clap. And so nothing was really functioning 100% that weekend. And that was a major function of the lack of profitability of a lot of things that weekend. So just in response to that, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Brownlee.
Again, not to get into debate, but in my mind, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you're not relying on it, in which case, if you're not relying on it, then I would say don't do it. But on the other hand, say that it's an important 5%, in which case you are relying on it. And so to me, you can't really have it both ways.
I think you guys made your points.
Yeah, no further comment.
Yeah, okay. Get a motion?
I would like to move this. I think, aside from what's being said, and as in my experience, it adds another amenity to the park and to the festival. And so I move this for approval as requested.
I'm going to second that.
Just call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
No.
Mrs. Larrier?
no,
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Good luck.
Okay, next up is the Board of Health, and I failed to say, I should have said, at our last meeting, we talked about an ordinance, the possibility of raising the age to buy cigarettes from 19 to 21. We had planned to have a speaker come into the Board of Health meeting, but she wasn't available, so we will have that speaker come in on the 15th of March. So, but if anyone's here who wants to speak about that, feel free to do so. We can, hear those comments and factor them in as we move the process forward. So we'll go to our Board of Health now, and if anyone wants to speak, maybe you can invite anyone to speak about that issue.
during the public comment.
Yes, during the public comment, yes.
Thank you. Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2016 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December of 2015, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams?
Here.
Mr. Brownlee?
Here.
Mayor DeLuca?
Here.
Mr. Lembrick?
Here.
Mrs. Larrier?
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7 provides that the Board of Health has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting, whereas the desire of the Maplewood Board of Health to comply with the provision of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Health. Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the Board of Health by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the Board of Health at all its regular and special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes. Thank you, and welcome to the March Board of Health meeting. I will ask that we approve the minutes from last month.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams? Here. Mr. Brownlee?
Yes. I'm sorry. Here, yes, but
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rowe, can we have your report?
Starting this month, our planning for health education programs with St. Barnabas is finally coming to fruition. On March 15th at the Community Center, we're having a program on concussions for school nurses and people involved in sports. And maybe some sports coaches. But it's mainly was designed for the school nurses, but we will welcome other people who are interested in the topic. And on the Wednesday, March 16th, we're going to have a special program at Winchester Gardens concerning stroke. And so those are off and running, and we'll be doing several more during the year. I sent you an email this afternoon, and I'm sorry I didn't put it in my narrative report, but we had a proposal to do another printing of the Maplewood Loves Wellness Cookbook, and it was actually a real estate company that was talking about paying for it, with the idea that maybe we'd print another 1,000 copies. We would keep 500 for our purposes, and they could keep 500 for their purposes. So I thought that was a pretty good idea, and Mr. Desiderio and Mr. Manning advised I should run it by the town committee just to see if there's any objection.
Just had one question about that. Would they be trying to brand it, put their logo or something on it? And is that allowable if they did?
And one of the questions which I asked Mr. Rowe, and I think he secured the answer, was it's not copyrighted. So, I mean, technically speaking, no. But if that's the restriction, then I think you would tell Mr. Rowe that they could do it with an understanding that they not put their brand on it if that's in fact the case.
Mayor DeLuca.
Yeah, I think two things. Do you know if well, let me ask the question. Do you know if that's the deal that the person wants to put their brand on?
No, I haven't even talked to them directly yet.
I mean, I'd be concerned if that, I think it's a good thing to have them, and if somebody put down that this was sponsored by whatever, I don't think that's an issue. I would suggest that we use the naming policy that we created for our website advertising for this. I think it talks about what kind of, it can be a logo, it can be identification, sort of like a PBS type ad where, this was sponsored by blah, blah, blah. And if we use something like that, we've also have that as a policy for South Orange Maplewood TV. But we have some of those policies in place, and if we just use that and apply those policies to this, then I think that would be fine. I don't think we would want pictures of someone in there or a house that they, I just sold this house type thing. But if this was, say, sponsored by X realtor, I think that would be fine.
I think that's really what I was driving at.
Yeah. And I think if we could dig up those policies and just follow that.
Okay, it sounds like there's a consensus on that then. Okay, thank
Any
you.
other comments about? Great, so then I would have that conversation and then make sure that those policies are available.
Okay, yes. And finally, in just one last point, in our monthly reports, we always report perinatal viral hepatitis B being followed. And just in case you don't know what that is, I thought it might be helpful to know when women are pregnant, they're routinely tested for viral hepatitis B. And if it turns out they are ill from hepatitis B, we follow their children after they're born to make sure they receive the hepatitis B vaccinations and to follow up blood tests to make sure that they have immunity. So that's just another job that our nurses do. I just wanted to point out that one little tidbit on my report. That's my report.
Are there any questions? Comments?
I have a question. Go ahead. I can wait.
Mr. Brownlee.
Yeah.
Not a question, but more of a comment. I did see that Furry Hearts had submitted some revised figures, which I think come closer to what Ms. Larry as well, have been asking for in terms of actually accurately delineating the actual numbers. Numbers actually have, just looking back, obviously changed a bit. I mean, originally they were saying that they had TNVR'd 145 cats, but then when we asked for more information, they said, well, actually, no, it was 122, although actually when they added up the numbers, it was only 68. And now that we've asked them to clarify it further, now the number is down to 64 that they've actually TNVR'd and shipped. So, it's good to see that the numbers are a bit more substantiated, but obviously as we've asked for those numbers to be more accurately depicted, the numbers have continued to come down, it seems like, with each successive iteration. Obviously this is, again, based on their counts. We're not independently counting it, so we're kind of relying on their word in terms of the numbers, which I said in the beginning wasn't necessarily my preference. I'd rather it be objectively assessed, not by the people who have a vested interest in the final result. But it is good to see that they're actually giving more specific numbers. But again, I do note that the numbers, as we asked for more specificity, continue to come down each time. So just wanted to state that.
Yes, I have a question. I see there's one of the location here. If a neighbor has a problem with one of the locations, with the activities at one of the sponsors, what's the recourse? How do we deal with that?
I think when we drafted the ordinance, there was no permission needed from the neighbor.
That's prior, but once it's in operation. Now, one of these houses.
I would say offhand, if they're following all the rules that we set to follow, I don't know that the neighbor has any option.
Okay. All right. Okay, I can talk to you offline about it if I need to.
Okay.
I think there was some concern, actually, that this one residence was not registered, but I do now see that they are registered. So that gives them a degree of protection as far as feeding the cats and things like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did note when they itemized the list of colonies that in one case, one address did go away, but now another one has been added. So,
Right.
but 13 have stayed relatively constant, and they have the addresses of all 13, but one went away and another one came in. So.
Okay.
Thank you. I would also mention that the possibility of cats diminishing within the colonies is ultimately good. Ideally, that's what we're hoping, that the cats would eventually diminish. So we're looking for the numbers to come down. Maybe not quite so drastically as it happened this time with the fixing of the numbers.
Those numbers went down a lot when you
They
miscount.
did.
No, the numbers go down a lot when you miscount.
When you
Yes,
miscount,
agreed.
yes.
I
But
think-
ultimately,
yeah.
hopefully, they will go down. I do have two questions on your narrative.
Yes.
Regarding the childcare facility that was, I guess, found to be non-compliant with the vaccination records, and now they have been fined. They are still in operation. They've been found to be substantially in compliance with the law. What does substantially in compliance mean?
Our aim is the guideline of the law is 95% of the records have to be totally up to date. I could check with the nurses to see where we are with this daycare. I don't know the exact percentage, but the nurse advised me that they had come into compliance. So what I will do is I will check with them tomorrow to get the exact percentage number.
Right.
We strive for 100%.
Okay, I'd just like to know what percentage
Yeah.
is substantially? I mean,
Yes,
could that
okay, I
be like
understand.
51% or 98%? Because there's a big difference there.
Yes.
My other question is with regard to the massage business that had the permit revoked. We're keeping on top of that to make sure he's not operating without his permit, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Just as further to that, actually, Mr. Rowe and I had not spoken, but I received a copy of a letter, I assume you did too, from his attorney?
No, I didn't get it.
You did not. It was actually addressed to you. I will get it to you then. For the same attorney who represented him the last time, asking for a hearing. Asking for a hearing, asking for the discovery and asking for the hearing. I will get that to Mr. Rowe, and we will set a date. And Mr. Manning, you were the hearing officer the last time, were you not? Okay. And we will set up a hearing. We have to make sure that the police representatives are available as well, so.
Okay.
Okay?
So this is the appeal that he's permitted?
Yeah, because Mr. Rowe, I believe, didn't suspend him. I think you revoked him. Is that right, Mr. Rowe?
Correct.
Right, so this was a revocation. So this will be a hearing to see if the revocation should be changed or stay in place.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no documentation about that, so it would be useful for us to see that stuff before the appeal so that we're familiar with it. We don't know anything, we don't know where it is, we don't know anything about it other than the
email went just to me. Okay.
all we did was read in Mr.
Rowe's report.
Mr. Rowe's report that it was revoked.
We will get you all of the information, absolutely.
Yeah, it's both police and health have information.
Okay.
Thank you. And then one last comment, actually. I see I wanted to mention that the Municipal Alliance grant, you said, has still not come in. We're still waiting for it. We thought it was coming in, and now we've heard it's not. I did put a call in to Assemblywoman J.C.'s office, and they are going to be looking into it this week.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Question.
Mr. Brown.
And I confess, I don't recall. A few months ago, we had, Mr. Rowe, you had given a report speaking to the fact that you were going to be checking the compliance rate of stores selling, or hopefully not selling, tobacco products to underage people. And I never recall we had a conversation about whether the stores would be notified or not or whatever, but was that ever actually done?
Yes, it was done. And,
I don't, if you already reported on it, forgive me, go ahead.
Okay, 2 summonses were issued, and we'll be doing it again this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. At this point in time is the time when we have our public comment. If there's anyone from the public who would like to address the Board of Health, please feel free to come forward. Being no one, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mrs. Larry?
Yes, thank you.
The teaser will say I'm here.
Okay, we have two discussion items. The first is the Maplewood Village parking lot number 7, the rear of 166 to 180 Maplewood Avenue, maintaining public access for future parking. We have been talking about this. We are still negotiating with the owners. The goal here is to preserve the 46 parking spaces that we currently use. These are spaces that are public spaces. These are spaces not just for the stores that are in the front. Those are actually another set of spaces that are not included in this. We are looking at the numbers. We're having some discussions. We have spoken to owners about leasing. We have received information from one owner that he does not want to continue the lease at the current terms, and we're talking about what would be new terms and also what would be the option of purchasing. So essentially, we're still looking at lease or an option for purchasing, and that's where we are at the moment. And hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have more information, and we will be meeting with these owners and moving forward. But we do know that the lease is up on March 6th, but we're going to continue to utilize it, and I think the owners will be fine with that. So, but we are trying to move quickly because this lease is up, and I want to make sure everything is done. We have had the property appraised. We believe we know what the value of the property is, and we're having those discussions with the property owners. Anything else? Okay. Second item is the property reassessment. Not always a pleasant thing to talk about, but one that the county board has asked us, or actually ordered us to have that conversation. Last Friday, the 26th of February, we interviewed 3 reassessment firms. Those interviews were done by representatives from both Maplewood and South Orange. This is going to be a joint endeavor. Both towns will have all their properties, all of its properties done. There was a unanimous agreement by the interviewers that Appraisal System Incorporated was the best candidate for our reassessments. They had worked both in Maplewood and South Orange in the past. They were the lowest bidder at approximately $55 per property versus $60 per property and $65 per property. The cost at the ASI cost of $55 a property will mean that Maplewood will pay approximately $404,000 for this. They're the only firm that is able and willing to post all the properties on the reassessment website that they created. This was very helpful last time, giving property owners the opportunity to go on to the website, look at sales data, look at similar properties in the neighborhood, and check out their assessment. None of the other vendors were able to do that. ASI is willing and has in the past answered email questions. They actually welcome them. They feel that the more interaction they have with the property owner, the better it is. So the questions are asked because there's an informal process of review, and if they can, by using email, get the information back and forth, then they don't need to spend that time with the informal review if in fact the property owner is satisfied with the answers. They're willing to participate in community meetings. The project manager, Jason Cohen, ran the last Maplewood reassessment, so we worked very well with him. I think we were all very pleased with him and moving forward. Their field inspectors are seasoned employees, and they're not hires for this particular job. This was a concern that was raised at the meeting at the Hilton Neighborhood Association, that quote-unquote college kids were going to be out doing the inspections. And this is important because although the inspections are a relatively small part of the assessment process, the inspector is the face of the reassessment process. So the homeowner having confidence that whoever's at their property is competent is important. So they, in fact, said that some of the same people who were here last time will be here this time. So we are recommending to the Township Committee, the Finance Committee, Mr. Brownlee and myself and the rest of the members of the team, Mr. Desiderio, Mr. Manning, Mr. Galante, and Mr. Murray. We're recommending that we approve the contract with ASI, and we know that South Orange will also be approving the contract. They will be the lead municipality on this, and the contract will actually be with South. It'll be 2 contracts? Okay, it'll be 2 contracts, but they will manage it, right? Yeah. So, so if we get a motion tonight to move forward with ASI, is that sufficient?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is get a motion, and then I'll memorialize the resolution. As I understand it going forward, South Orange will consider this at their meeting on Monday night.
Yes.
I will also prepare the contract. The form of contract has to go to the county board and then has to be approved by the state. We will get that done. The hope is, from a timeline, to hopefully have everything in place so that they can start somewhere around April 1st. With that time, they assured us that they'll be able to get the project done and on the books for 2017, which is the directive of not only the county board, but also the state of New Jersey. So that would be what we would do.
Okay, so we need a motion tonight to approve the contract with ASI.
Can I make a comment first?
Yes.
Okay. I just.
A motion and a comment.
Okay. I am happy to do both. And I just wanted to say that, while I wasn't a part of these negotiations, I was actually rooting for ASI because as a resident and a consumer for the last, reevaluation and reassessment, I was actually very satisfied with the job ASI did. Their website is great. As the mayor mentioned, their personnel I've always found to be really professional, and they really make the information very accessible. So knowing the job they've done in the past, I have a lot of confidence that we're really in good hands, and I'm going to be confident in telling residents that this is going to be a professional, well-managed process. So I would like to make a motion that we approve ASI for the reassessment.
Second.
Okay. Any further comments? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Thank you. Let's deal with the separate resolution number 5516, supporting Assembly Bill 750 and Senate Bill 1280. Mrs. Larrier, would you like to move this and make a comment?
Yes, I would move that we accept this resolution and pass it tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments?
Yes, I would just like to point out that this resolution is a staffing bill, bill number 750. It's in Trenton. They're trying to get it passed. It deals with staffing for nurses in hospitals and ambulatory care facilities. The staffing standards for these employees have not been updated since 1987. And we feel, and we were asked by the Health Professionals and Allied Employees Union to pass this resolution to show that we feel that patients, particularly our patients from Maplewood, deserve minimal staffing standards in facilities such as St. Barnabas and Overlook that does service our members, our residents.
There's at least minimal.
They believe, that, yes, thank you. They deserve at least minimal, and they should be updated certainly since 1987.
Right. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Can we get a motion on the balance of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Our next item is the 2016 budget discussion. Just to remind ourselves, we've had 2 sessions already, Saturday sessions of budget hearings. Tonight, we're going to talk about the revenue and the capital. Our goal is to introduce the budget on March 15th, which is our next meeting. On March 12th, in the afternoon, we're going to have a 2-hour final budget conversation. So tonight is, again, an information gathering. We can ask questions, make some comments, whatever you'd like to do, but we're not making any decisions tonight. That
And
will
we're
all
not
be
gonna be here
done
2 hours.
later on. Excuse me?
And we won't be here 2 hours.
And we won't be here 2 hours tonight.
And just to confirm, the March 12 meeting is from 1 to 3 p.m.
Correct.
Is open to the public
Yes.
and will be broadcast?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll even have asked the Township Committee if anybody wants to send an email in and ask a question during the hearings.
So why don't you do the capital first, and just talk about whose recommendations these are, and, 'cause you have project cost recommendations, so if you could just explain the chart to us.
Okay, well, first of all, we have and it's this one here, capital.
This supersedes the 412, whatever you emailed one.
The 7 o'clock PM.
Yeah, the 7 PM one, right?
Yep.
Yes, we're current. We've had a policy, and our goal is that whatever we retire in bond principal payments, that we only take on debt no more than equal to 80% of that figure, so that it's always 20% below what we paid off in that particular year, so that we can bring down our overall debt over time, slowly over time. And we've been very good with that. I think the only time that we didn't quite meet that was when we bought the Woodland, which was, a large expense. So we couldn't quite do it. We ask all of our department heads to present to us their lists of things that they are requesting. There's a cost figure there in the center. So we have the department, the project, the cost for that project, if there's any grants involved, and the recommendation. So when you see a grant involved, the recommendation typically is the amount of the cost for the project minus the grant would be the amount we're going to be raised in a bond ordinance or through borrowing. So these are my recommendations. They're based on going over, speaking with department heads, looking at what our goal is. And so the bottom line on the second page is we're making, originally there was $4,502,534 worth of capital requests. We've brought that figure down to $2,945,679. I give you comments of why I've made the recommendations or how they are, what my feelings are on that. So if anybody has any questions, feel free. I think we've given most of the, very, very important projects, in order of priority. I think we've given a good share of the money around to the different departments.
Okay, let's see if anyone has any questions about what you're proposing.
I do have a question. Mr. Manning, under Public Works number 3, the asphalt heater.
Yeah, right.
What?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I thought that, I actually found the presentation for that one pretty compelling. Is that the one that would allow us to repair the potholes once and be done?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Could you maybe explain why it appears by recommending 0, you're recommending that we not fund that? And I was just wondering if you could explain that.
Okay. Well, my recommendation was because the jitney bus, which costs $118,000, if we get the jitney bus, Then we need the electrical box because we wouldn't be able to manage it or make sure that it was heated during the winter appropriately so it started up. The fuel management system is something that we're going to need towards obtaining sustainable Jersey points. So I thought that that was something. To be honest with you, the wheel loader is really one of their most important pieces of equipment. That's a very expensive piece of equipment. And then they have a scanner, which is antiquated now and needs to be. So all the things that I've recommended are things that are absolutely necessary for them to run the department. This one is more of a, if I had the money. So that was my reasoning.
Okay, but there wasn't a specific reason. It wasn't so much you were recommending against it. You were just prioritizing other things.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Is the anticipated grant from NJDOT, is that the Transportation Trust Fund?
Let me see. Yes.
So, and that would be applied for and would be, since the Transportation Trust Fund isn't funded right now.
Oh, I think we've already.
It's already been
Has it
applied
already
for.
been
right?
got?
It's already been applied for, and it's,
And I think we've
So we
already
have the money.
received, we have the grant.
No, you already received the other one, but this one says
Which one,
anticipated.
you know what?
I'm
we-
sorry, it's
Which one?
under.
number 8,
Parker
under
Avenue.
engineering.
Oh, okay.
Says
Oh,
anticipated.
we anticipated from NJDOT. Yes, we have not received it yet, no. But it's a very good, we have typically gotten all that. And there is enough transportation trust money for this year's budget.
Okay.
I had another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Under recreation, number 6, the Woodland HD projector and screen.
Yes.
You know, it may just be when I spoke to Mr. Knudsen that he was putting the cart before the horse, but my understanding was that we had, you know, this was sort of already in process and had been ordered, and we'd already retained certain film rights to show movies at the Woodland. Am I thinking of two different things?
I know we rented one for the last time we had a movie, but I
Okay,
don't.
so, okay, could that be, he said that there were certain rights that had to be retained in order to show the movie?
Yes.
Okay, so he may have been speaking about one that was rented, and this was a proposal to actually purchase one.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I guess the explanation I got from him was based on a rental, not on, not on one we owned.
Right. So we're looking at, you know, when we look at the Woodland, we're looking at, you know, in engineering, they have a kitchen at the Woodland that's $100,000 added to the $70,000 we had last year to bring that kitchen up to code, and all of these other items. I mean, I think.
Oh, no,
that
I'm not disputing the recommendation not to purchase it. It was,
Yeah.
I was trying to understand, I thought it already had been purchased, we'd already used it to show at least one movie, so.
But that was a rental.
That was a rental, okay.
Yes.
Then, that was my misunderstanding, thanks.
Okay. Yes.
Mr. Bradley.
I guess two things. One, I actually shared Mr. Lembert's comment about the compelling nature of the presentation on the asphalt heater. Yes, I looked at that as sort of an investment in something so that we don't have to repeat the exercise in subsequent years, and so that it would essentially pay for itself over time. I do understand your watching every penny, so I appreciate that. But I guess I'd still want to do that. But I do have a separate question on the fire communication system. That's number 3 under fire. We basically couldn't afford to fund that this year. And it's a fairly substantial line item. My question is, not in the sense of kicking the can down the road, but is there a point where it is mandatory for us to do that? And if so, I guess I kind of see that as it's going to hit us at some point, and it's a fairly substantial line item. Is there a way to either A, spread that amount of money over a period of time, and I don't know the rules on that, or are we just simply going to face a situation at some point, and I'm not sure what year it's actually mandatory, where we're just going to have to bite the bullet and take that large single line item at once, and obviously then other things are going to get pushed out, versus this year we just said, well, we can't afford it this year. Well, at some point we're going to have to afford it.
certainly. Now, in terms of that, so we're finally going to get to the 600 and something $1,000 for the fire engine with this 245,000, right? So we're buying a $600,000 piece of equipment that we've put aside, and we're buying a backup ambulance for 140. So that's like 700, almost $800,000 for equipment themselves. Communication equipment is not mandatory right at the moment. It has to do with this interoperability between Maplewood, Irvington, and Orange. Okay, so I would like to see it where the interoperability that comes down the line is for all fire stations, that we can talk to Milburn, that we can talk to Irvington, that we can talk to all these other things. And I think that the state is moving towards a plan. They're not there yet. So I think, we can put this off for one more year, get the two bigger projects, and let them come back next year. It wouldn't really make any sense to just give them half the money, because we'd be holding on to it until next year. It will kick us over our amount that, we're trying to stick to. And it would save the certain purpose if we gave it to them in total next year.
Okay.
Larry.
I just had a question. The Hilton Library?
Yes.
The window replacement in the Hilton Library, I know that we've got some stuff to think about and work on with Memorial, but I thought we put off the windows in Hilton, done that before, have we not?
Mhm.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, sort of the same question as Mr. Brownlee, at what point do we need to do those windows?
Well, I think, we have a half-completed project over at Memorial, and we have money to complete that project at Memorial. I'd like to see us complete that project. It's been on hold because there is a thought that sometime in the future, we're going to have a $12 to $15 million expansion. To me, we have money, we can save money during this whole time period, and it doesn't even mean that whatever design they get is going to destroy all the windows that we put in today. That project may be 5 or so many years down the road. They're just actually getting an RFP to plan it. That would be this year. Then they have to. So what I'm trying to suggest is let's finish the project we have and then go wholeheartedly over to the other one, because there's just money sitting in a bond ordinance, just, kind of languishing there.
It's sitting there specifically for Memorial?
Yes.
We can't move that over to Hilton?
Yes, you can. You can change the bond ordinance. You can pay an attorney and do all that kind of stuff. Yes.
I guess because what I see, we are on hold because we have this huge project that we want to do for Memorial. That's not part of.
But that's the kind of the key that we want to do for Memorial. You've wanted to do, and we should, I feel personally, continue the project, put the windows in there, because half the library has a protection, half the library doesn't get drafts, half the library, can open windows, and the other half can't. It doesn't make any sense to have spent good taxpayer dollars on libraries, the windows. To me, it doesn't make any sense to do that. If the Township Committee would, wants to put that on hold and, thinks that we'll be, soon moving into a different building, well then, we should consider it, although I'd have to redo the budget recommendations if we want to hold the line.
Well, again, we're asking questions, we can think about it.
Sure.
And this will be, it would be useful if we found out how much is left over in that Memorial Park window project.
Oh, you mean for the, all right. So
Memorial Library, I'm sorry.
You mean the library part, sure. How much is left? Okay, I will let you know.
Any other questions people have about the Capitol? So I suggest, we all remember the hearings, we took notes, you might want to look at your stuff. What I would suggest is if you have more questions or suggestions, that you get them to Mr. Manning before the 12th.
And if you have specific department heads that, you're responsible to interact with, et cetera, please feel free to discuss them. They will get our recommendations if they haven't already in today's mail, then we'll be distributing them tomorrow morning and allowing for questions at our monthly department head meeting.
Okay. All right, let's go to the budget, which is the small sheet.
Yes, so this bigger sheet is your whole budget kind of put into a spreadsheet as opposed to going over pages and pages. But we really bring it down to this one sheet and it's how we develop the tax rate. So if you look at the 2015 to 2016 years in terms of the revenues, which are the top items. Well, first of all, look at the budget, which is the total budget. Last year was $40,350,000. This year it's $41,210,000. So it's gone up $859,000. The amount to be raised by taxation, which is our total budget minus our anticipated revenues, which are above, and you have the amount to be raised by taxation. So the amount to be raised by taxation is going up $1,353,396, which is about 5.39%. So if you look, one of the reasons why this happened is because in our revenues, we're below. We're almost $500,000 under what we were in the previous year. And there's a lot, there's a lot of different reasons for that. We don't generate, we don't have an economy in our town that keeps generating new revenues for us or even expanding on existing revenues. Ours is strictly the tax base of predominantly 90% of it is. So that's what we have right at the moment. That translates into the middle section, which is our net valuation taxable. So we even went down because of tax appeals, et cetera, we've gone down about $11,443,000 in the actual value of our properties. A tax point has gone down a little from $306,000 to $305,000. So it's gone down a portion. So brings us to the tax rate, which last year the municipal tax rate was 0.819 cents. We have it projected as of today at 0.866, which is a 5-point increase. We can only have by law, except under circumstances, certain circumstances, et cetera, that number has to be 0.02. Okay, so that means we have to find about $915,000 worth of either additional revenues or cuts in expenditures to get us to what I'm assuming you want to be at, and unless there is a difference of opinion, just slightly below 2. That's typically what we've aimed for.
So we would be allowed to go a little above 2 by taking some exemptions, right? We have the opportunity to take some exemptions and go above 2%?
We're going to find a ways to decrease that percentage.
Well, no, he asked a very specific question. Do we have the ability, by taking some exemptions, to increase above the 2%?
That is correct.
Okay. So we ought to take the temperature of the Township Committee as to whether we want to go that route or whether we want to instruct Mr. Manning to bring this number down to a 2% or less than 2% increase.
Can I ask a question about this chart?
No.
Mr. Manning, I'm looking at miscellaneous revenues at 11.2 million, a little bit more than 11.2 to slightly over 9.8 this year. That's a decrease of nearly 1.4 million. And that number struck me as more than I would expect of sort of a usual up and down variation. Is there a particular reason why down, over 10%?
Yeah.
I will answer that question. Last year, we had to anticipate $460,000 from the General Capital Fund balance from General Capital Fund, $460,000 and $953,000 from cancellation of open balances of old ordinances. That pretty much makes that difference.
So in other words, we had a one-time source of funds, two one-time sources of funds that together made that a higher number, which we do not have this year.
Okay, and those two sources of funds?
Pardon, say that again? Capital surplus is,
Capital surplus and cancellation of appropriations of the general capital fund, old ordinances. Ordinances, they get funded, but sometimes they don't get expended fully. Balances remain there, and we cancel those ones. We don't have them this year.
Yeah, but that didn't total $1.4 million.
That's basically the main component of that balance.
that's about 600 and.
So then where's the other 8? What's the
No,
other
but
8?
we'll get back to you with a
Yeah.
breakdown. I'll get you that.
I think that would be
All right.
important to understand. I know there should be some money in there. We went way over in our revenue at the building department.
Yes,
So that could be in there too,
yes, sir.
almost by $500,000.
Yes,
So that was revenue for last year that we're not counting on this year? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, no, obviously, the numbers are what they are, and it doesn't change what we have to do. I'm just trying to get an understanding of
Okay.
how we got to where we are.
We'll give you a breakdown of where it is from last year, what made that, and what's making it up this year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Brownlee?
And maybe it would have shed light on that too. I realize obviously this is 16, 15. If there was I know typically we just do the 2, but if there was a 14 number, then I might have seen, that there was this bump up in 15 for that figure.
Yep.
So you're looking for the 2014 realized?
Yes.
Can you add a 2014 realized?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
extra
that would
column
be
would be
helpful.
useful.
Well, it's got to be, no, if-
Context. Yeah. I've seen 2 numbers.
All right, if
2
we're
lines.
go-
I don't know what's.
yeah, well, so it's not realized, it's what we budgeted. Realized is going to be different, but what we budget to enable to compare them all, we have to have apples to apples. So that's.
Well, but you don't have that now. You have realized to
realized.
anticipated.
Right, right. Is that correct? We don't have.
Is realized
This is what we
215,
realized.
anticipated 2016. So we
Right,
realized
so-
something in 14.
Well, yeah, so if you actually put the number in that we put there, that we actually put in to budget,
Right.
we wouldn't have to raise a penny, really. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
Because that number is lower. That number will be lower, so it'll be much more, it'll be in line closer to the 9, so that.
Right, that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is absent that number, that's why, to your point, I think Greg is saying the same thing. Seeing the 11 versus the 9, it's like, oh, went down, 1.4 or whatever. But you're saying the normal number probably would have been 9. We'd had an unusual event last year.
Right.
Obviously, if I had 3 points, then I'd be able to see that there was this
We'll give you
bump
3.
up last year. So when it's just 2 numbers, you can't tell one number is higher or lower or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm not looking for a whole stream of things, but at least the 14 number, I would have been able to see that there was some unusual event. And I could have honed in on that question.
Can I get also, just, and this is another clarification.
Go ahead.
So the number that we're looking at in terms of what you said, the 0.02 or the 2% cap, I'm looking at the tax rate town portion, those
Right.
last 2 columns?
Yes,
Okay. And you're saying that to bring currently the 0.05 or the 5.79% down to 0.02 would be a difference of $915,000 approximately?
approximately,
Okay. The next row down,
yes.
that's 3.46, 4.326, can you tell me what that row is?
That's the municipal plus county plus state. Is that right, this one?
yes.
Yes. So that would be with the actual,
The overall tax rate.
the overall tax rate is, or was.
Just remember, these are just preliminary figures. What we have at the moment is a draft. This is not the budget ready for introduction. So still, we have to carve and crunch it.
Yeah, but it is pretty close to
But-
what it is.
I mean, but what I'm seeing there is a 25% increase
Yeah, that line's not labeled, so it's.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you. Yeah, wait
And
a
I'm
minute.
just wondering what the 25% increase would be, because, 5.79% was scary enough, but when I see 25.03, I just want to be
Okay.
able to tie that to something.
Yeah, and that may, I have to look at, that number may have,
Yeah, that's just one of those formulas that got out of place.
so, I'll
Okay, so
clarify
we're not
that.
talking about a 25%.
No, first of all, right, whatever the percentages are, we can only increase 2 points, period. Whatever, in the end it is, that's what you are required by law to do unless you take certain exemptions.
No question. And I'm going to hone in on the same thing, but just one column over now. So if I'm looking at the adjacent column to 2503 where I see 0.87, unpack that number for me. What am I
You know
looking
what,
at?
let's leave that line, I'm sorry, just ignore that line,
Okay,
please.
all right. We'll get an updated figure for that.
Yeah.
And then, okay, because.
Because you can see that somehow that was added in there,
Yeah.
because the increase and decrease should have really been up one there. So I'm not sure if when we hit a column for some reason, I'll have to look. Sorry.
Okay, so we'll toss that for now and we'll get an updated figure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So in order to get to the 2%, if you look at the very last line, or last two lines, so assessed home value and municipal tax, in order to get that 2%, that increase from 2015 to 2016 has to be about $65, as opposed to the $202. Each
Makes
dollar
sense,
increase
makes
is
sense.
$32.
Ratio-wise, that makes sense.
So
Because they're going from 5 to 2.
So that's,
then, yeah.
It's a big
cut.
Yeah, because we've maintained our operating expenditures really close to the bone for almost 5 years now, and that's starting to crack in some areas as you've seen in the other sheets and in your requests. So it's a little more difficult.
Yeah, so I want to go back to the question about our appetite. I have a couple of, before I do that, I have a couple of questions I want to talk about. In the fire salary, we agreed to hire 2 additional firefighters.
That's correct.
And they're in here, correct?
They're in there.
Did we take any adjustment from the overtime?
Did we take any? Not yet, no.
Okay, because
Yes.
that's the deal.
I've got it, yeah. And,
Okay.
and that's going to take some really talking to and, putting people on the straight and narrow, because we had that figure last year, but anyway, I won't go into it.
Okay,
But that was the deal.
okay. So, but I think that's maybe a little bit of an area we might find some dollars.
Yes.
The other thing is, I believe the chief had 2 additional police officers in there.
Yes, he does.
Anticipating them for the schools.
I don't think it was for the schools. I thought he was just bringing his from 61 to 63.
Well, that was last year. We did that last year. We added those police officers last year.
Right? I
Not
don't
this
think
year.
we have any additional, I think that the limit we have there, and I'll get back to you tomorrow,
Okay.
is
Okay.
total
'Cause
number of
I know
police.
he put in for some more. I always want to make sure that that's.
Oh,
not-
well, you know what? Okay. We haven't gotten to the personnel requests.
Right.
There is no personnel requests in here, so he has his
Even his,
63.
even his.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Public Works heads employee.
Yeah, we have I think, could be almost $200,000 worth of requests for additional people, and we have to do that enclosed, basically, some of it.
You're saying that's not reflected in.
No,
this-
it's not.
in these
That's
numbers.
right.
So these numbers are only going to get worse.
Could get worse.
It could get worse.
Okay.
Well, the merit stuff we have to do enclosed, but whether or not we add people.
Right. And
any new position we can do in open.
Right, which we will do on the 12th.
Okay.
That'll be the last
Okay.
part of this.
So I want to go back to the question about the 2%, because what we're doing here is just not a sustainable way of budgeting.
We have difficulty sustaining our budget, yes.
Yeah, this is, we're utilizing one shot. Now, I believe in our earlier conversation today, the $2 million that you anticipate using from the fund balance includes about $305,000 of the, or $300,000 of the sale of the post office?
305, yes.
305, okay, tax point.
Yes, one tax point.
Okay. So, that's already something that we're eating into.
And we still have left.
We still have left about 700.
Right.
800,000 there.
Right.
Okay. But it's, it's just that money doesn't repeat itself again.
Nope. Yeah, it does not. Yes.
And the miscellaneous revenue, by, taking all these cancellation of all these projects, pretty soon we're not going to have any more projects to cancel. So that 1.4 gap in the miscellaneous revenue just gets bigger.
That's exactly right, sir.
And it has pretty much every year.
Right.
We're always at this point because we really can't grow. So we either have to shrink with people, employees, and because that's our biggest cost, which reflects on services, or we expand with additional revenues, and that's a very difficult thing to do because there's not always an appetite to raise fees.
Well, it's just even if you raise fees, you're not going to be raising that much money, not $100,000, or
That's about
not
it.
$1 million.
No, that definitely is
Maybe
not.
100,000, but not $1 million.
Not $1 million, yes. And we do have people, they retire, so, we bring people in on a lower level. So there's breakage there. There's always it's organic and it's always changing. So each year it's a little different. Actually, we're a little bit better than we were last year.
Yes.
So, and if you say a number, it's our responsibility to find a way to get to that number and to let you know what that is. But I think we have a question.
Yes.
I didn't make this comment at the beginning of this budget season like I have in the past, but I think your question is, do we have an appetite to go over the 2% with the exemptions? And one thing that I've always said is I want to keep below our cap unless it means that our residents and the township and the infrastructure and the safety and being able to clear snow and get roads done, I guess that's infrastructure, suffers. And so I think I would have an appetite for going above with the exemptions, not much above. But as you said, this isn't necessarily a sustainable way of doing our budget.
But I'm not saying that you have to go above it. I'm saying that if you tell me the figure,
No, I understand.
right, and we'll work, and I would say to you, that means, we have to go to 2.01 or it's going to be a layoff or this or that. And I'm sorry I even said that word out loud in the public. No, but cuts to things.
Well, I'm not suggesting that I have an appetite for carelessly going.
No,
over the cap,
I didn't mean that.
But if there is absolutely no way out,
Okay.
then yes.
But, what we're looking for are our marching orders, and
There's one more reality here too, and having gone through 3 reevaluation reassessments, next year's budget, these increases become dramatically more because as taxes shift, not only see people paying different rates, people paying different amounts, but then if we increase the rates, those proportionately go up or down. So you try in a reval year to have as small of an increase, because even a 2% increase
It's going to be big.
can impact folks. Where you get $1,000 more in taxes, and then you get something on top of that. It becomes a backbreaker. So if you look at going down the line, you might want to think about, well, this is the year where we maybe have to dig a little deeper, and next year try to hold the line a little more and preserve some of the money that we have here that we can put into the reserve or keep in the reserve. Or certainly, we get to issues of layoffs and things like that. That's a whole nother.
yeah, which I don't think we're at that point.
I don't think we are either. Certainly not like in 2009.
No.
That was a disaster.
If we had to do anything, we could do it through attrition, right, most likely.
But I think Mr. Manning, I think I would echo Mrs. Larrier that I would prefer you to come back to us and say, here's what we can do at 2%, but here are the ramifications if you do that. And if you go to 2.1% or 2.2% or 2.5%, this is how it might impact us going forward. That would be helpful.
I agree with that. That reflects where I'm at.
Is that okay?
Yes, I'm just writing a note.
Are you okay with that, everyone?
Okay. So we'll have that before your meeting on the 12th, so you can have time to absorb it. We'll also come back to you with, and based on any comments or suggestions on the capital, we'll come back with that cleared up. We'll come back with some recommendations on how do you want to handle the open space trust fund?
We generally would like to do it at the same time, so we should talk about that on the 12th.
Okay.
It would be useful to get your recommendations.
Okay.
Because you do the same thing with the capital. You give us recommendations, right?
Right. And I usually discuss those with the department heads and, so we, it's not like they're surprised.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Thank you.
You're going to give us another.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, and they'll always be dated and timed, so you should really rid yourself of previous versions, or you could get confused quickly, because I know I do. Sorry.
Well, I'm leaving them all with our clerk.
Okay.
All right. Next up is administrative. Oh, yeah, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Thank you.
Is there?
Okay, no one. We will move on to administrative reports. Mr. Manning? Seems like you've been talking all night.
Well, yeah, don't talk that much. Just wanted to remind people that we are going to meet here on the 12th from 1 to 3. It is going to be on television on our cable, our 2 cable stations. And we also, and someone just texted me about this, that if you have it live on streaming live, it comes in much better on the our YouTube channel. So anybody who's savvy in that, I mean, I have no idea, but that's what I'm told. And no, nothing else to report at the moment.
And I received a text that we have a new recycling company coming Monday.
Yes, we do. And it should be seamless. We have Basso. Is it Basso? Basso.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the only thing is I would ask to urge people to make sure that they have their recyclables at the curb by 6:30, because this company is going to be coming around earlier than the previous company.
Okay.
So if folks have any concern, they should call DPW,
Yes.
not GATA, because GATA is not going to be picking up
No.
recycling.
Well, they should always call DPW. They shouldn't call the contractor.
Just one other.
Yes.
In addition to the fact that it is streamed, obviously it'd be nice if people could see it real time, if you would, but we save that recording as well, so it can be watched later.
Yes.
So if you're not able to actually watch it live, well, obviously you can't ask a question after the fact. You can actually watch it and or review it later on at your leisure if you're unable to actually participate and ask the questions during the 2-hour period. So it's retained and you can look at it later on as well.
And they can also,
on TV.
even afterwards, if they're watching it later, they can still send us a question and we'll do our best to answer.
Yeah, obviously not.
Okay. Right. Nothing else from Mr. Manning. We'll go to Mr. Desiderio.
I have no report, Mayor.
Okay. Guess everybody wants to go home.
Mr. Manning sucked all the air out of the room.
Oh, boy.
What'd you say?
Ms. Fritzen.
It's not going to stop Mrs. Fritzen.
Yes.
I have a long report.
Ms.
for you.
Fritzen.
Mr. Lembrick had asked at your last Township Committee meeting for me to provide an update on polling locations within the township, specifically the Clinton School polling location. I sent you all an email today giving you some history and background. I hope was helpful for you. And I think that Mr. Lembrick wanted me to, for the public, to just review some of the findings that I gave you.
Yes, I found the email very helpful. If you could just summarize
Okay.
for the public some of what you told us.
All right, in summary, we know that historically, Clinton School polling district that has polling location that has 5 districts. It's been a topic where the school system as well as parents have tried to find a way that we could vacate the Clinton School and select another polling location within that district neighborhood. So in the past 12 months, I have gone to possible polling sites that were suggested by the Clinton School PTA, met with their representatives as well as our master board worker, and then ultimately went to polling locations which were brought to our attention as possibilities to change from Clinton with the clerk of the Board of Elections in Newark. So 2 of the locations that we looked at were senior housing on Irvington Avenue, and the other one was the Andrew Kim Church on Parker Avenue. Senior housing, it was determined that the community all-purpose room would certainly be too small to accommodate 5 districts. And again, let me just mention that we're talking about approximately 4,300 voters within these 5 districts. Not that all 4,300 come out on a given election, but certainly those numbers have to be accounted for. The parking was inadequate at the senior housing as far as what was available on site in the parking lot based on the residents that also have vehicles. And the alternate suggestions for parking, one being across the street. I personally, as the election official for the township, did not feel was appropriate or safe. The other was I was concerned about actually getting in and out of that building due to their security. The other option was the Andrew Kim Church on Parker Avenue. And while that was a good site and had been used in the past years when it was Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, they were only able to commit to 1 election a year, not both. And we need to have consistency in an election with the June election and the November election. So unfortunately, that was out. So that's where we are. I will say that the County of Essex, the last 2 elections, just based on concerns from parents, has stationed a sheriff's officer at cost to the county and not the Township of Maplewood during the last election from certainly 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we have made recommendations in the past to move out of schools in Maplewood, and that was because we had alternate sites. And we had years back voted at Jefferson School and Tuscan School, but we had alternate sites. The other thing is, last year we also made a recommendation to move polling location from fire headquarters to the Woodland, and that was approved by yourselves as well as the County Board of Elections. So I think if we have a viable recommendation to make, the county will, Board of Elections, who has the final say, by the way, would work with us.
Ms. Larrier.
I just have a quick question. The Maplewood First Aid Squad building, that's out of that zone, that's out of that district, is that it?
And well, we have in the past voted at the Maplewood First Aid Squad building. And the handicap accessibility was certainly an issue. And
As was the heat.
The heat too, and the water. But I was personally was happy to leave that location and move to Clinton. So I think, any residents have any additional ideas, we'd certainly like to hear them and review them and see if they work.
Mr. Manning?
Well, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that we don't know what the future of the Maplewood First Aid Squad is going to be in terms of the building. And if it should come back to the township, we can fix those issues. And
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to fit 5 polling districts there.
is that correct?
That we need 5 polling districts are currently at Clinton. They would have to be housed in a location.
Right, so we don't have a big enough location. There's no expansion we could. Okay, thank you.
Is there, I understand the desire to not use any of the schools, but is it possible to alleviate some traffic by removing some of the districts from Clinton School and relocating others?
Well, I would call that splintering of a district, of a polling location, and the county Board of Elections is not in favor of splintering that particular polling site and moving one district to one location, 2 districts to another, and so forth. We have 5 districts there to accommodate.
I also remember from years ago, I used to, for some elections, I voted at Tuscan School, for others, I voted at Prospect. At this, within the same year, and maybe that was
I think
Board
that
of
might have
Ed.
been,
That's because we shifted. We shifted it, right?
we shifted it.
We shifted all the elections from Tuscan to
We left
Prospect.
Tuscan School.
Right.
We shifted some of those polling districts to Prospect Presbyterian and some here to Town Hall. Actually, 3 here to Town Hall. We did not have a polling location here. We made the suggestion. I mean, it's really in it works best for the Township of Maplewood if polling districts and locations are Township of Maplewood buildings, because we have a lot more control. So that was a recommendation that was made maybe 5 years ago to come to Town Hall, and it's worked out fine.
Mr. Brownlee?
Because this issue has come up in past years as well. Wasn't also one of the issues, your point in terms of, what if we only use it for 2 districts or 3 districts or whatever? Wasn't one of the complicating issues in the Clinton case also the fact that you can't actually access the gym from the outside? You actually need to go through the building to get to it. So therefore, it really wouldn't matter whether or not there was 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Whoever goes would need to go through the
You
building.
had to do that at Tuscan too. You had to go through the school to get to the gym.
Okay, but I guess I'm just saying in terms of it being 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, the fact is people would still be going through, which I think was the concern.
It doesn't resolve the problem.
It wouldn't resolve the problem, is my point. It's either, if anybody can go through, then it's potentially an issue, even if it's just one person from their perspective.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else?
No, Mayor, thank you. That'll be it.
Did you want to make any comments about her report, Mr. Desiderio?
No, I thought it was very thorough and delivered at a very, very deliberate pace.
It was
You have a hot take?
an appropriate clip.
Right. But
Okay.
so Mr. Manning did try to jump in and take some of the thunder away.
So, yes, would you yield your time to Mr. Manning?
No.
Okay, I think people want to go home, so.
Mr. Desiderio.
Elected officials, Mrs. Larrier,
I have no report, Mayor.
Mr. Brownlee,
I have no report.
Ms. Adams,
No report, Mayor.
Mr. Limbrick.
My only report is that my office hour scheduled for tomorrow evening is going to have to be postponed due to a meeting that's got scheduled for tomorrow that I plan to attend for the Board of Education budget. So I will be announcing at the next Township Committee meeting when I'll reschedule that office hour. But in the meantime, if anyone wants to reach me, email, and we can set up a time.
Or
do have
take
a
the train
question.
if there's no strike.
Or take the train for as long as
I
it
have a
runs.
question for Mr. Lembrick.
Yes.
My question is, if there is a transit strike, will you be doing your take a train with a TC
He's going to
member?
drive for other
You're gonna
residents.
drive?
It's going to be a ride share,
You say you're
right?
going to be an Uber person?
How many people can you fit in your car?
I'm going to work from home.
Or the library, people can come to the library.
That's true. Yeah, people can meet me at the library.
Okay, all right. They can work with you there. Just a few items. The RFQ for the library has been sent out. We're actually got a robust response from architects. And this is the first stage. The building committee, which is made up of people from town, the library, and the Library Foundation, and the Friends of the Library. We will interview the architects who submitted to the RFQ. From that, we'll probably interview 3 of them, and from there, we'll bring it down to 1, we'll interview them all, we'll pick 3. The 3 will be asked to give an RFP, a proposal, and then we'll interview those and select. So it's a very deliberate process, but there's been quite a bit of enthusiasm from the architect community to this job, so that's nice. The Construction Mitigation Committee of the related to the post office redevelopment has been meeting. It includes township officials, merchants, Village Alliance representatives, and we're making sure that there's complete access to the village. We're doing some signage, and things are moving along. I think we've worked out a pretty good system of getting information out. I want to thank you, Mr. Carrera, for doing that. It's very important. That's the one thing we're stressing with all of our departments, trying to get information out before it happens so no one's surprised. Today, DPW was there to remove trees and bushes in front, and they will be replanted in Maple Crest Park. And then there's going to be some other folks going there and taking some flowers, some tulip bulbs and things like that. So we're trying to reuse as much as possible there. The other thing, just 2 more things. One is the Sustainability Committee met today. It was the first day, the kickoff meeting, and we're going to be focusing on our silver certification, a recertification for sustainable Jersey. Very important. We have to get that done by June, so we're going to be doing some work on that. But this is really an opportunity to get all of our department and environmental stakeholders in town on the same page and moving forward in the same direction. And lastly, I too have office hours. Those will be on March 8th, Tuesday, March 8th at 7 to 8 p.m. And I'm sorry, one more last thing. Next week is Restaurant Week. From Monday through Sunday is Restaurant Week, so please go online, maplewoodrestaurantweek.com, and check out all the different specials. There's specials all around town, in the village, on Springfield Avenue, Milburn Avenue, Valley Street. So it's Restaurant Week in Maplewood, March 7th through the 13th. Nothing else? Get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll see you on March 15th right here. But we'll see you on March 12th for a budget meeting. Thank you.